Welcome to the governance and committee meeting for December 2nd, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order, and I'd like to welcome everyone. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional land of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which is represented by the communities of Saugeen First Nation and Chippewa and Nawash unceded First Nation. We also think of the Métis Nation of Ontario, whose history and people are well represented in Bruce and Grey counties. So we have received regrets this evening for Trustee Lutz. She will be in attendance, and online we have Trustee Morgan. And sometimes Trustee McComb joins. However, she's actually not a voting member of this committee, but she can still attend just like anybody else. Okay, so first of all, before I put the agenda online, is there any new business to be added to the agenda? Is there any new business that a trustee would like to add to the agenda? There. Welcome, Trustee McComb.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. That the agenda for the Governance Standing Committee meeting for December 2nd, 2025 be approved is printed. Can I have a motion for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Morgan. All in favor? And that is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest on any of the items before you this evening? I see none. We have no delegations this evening, and now we're down to reports. So I'm going to ask the Superintendent of Education, Elliott, to speak to the report that I'm now going to put on the floor. That the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Blue Water summer school students participate in the Civics and Careers Travel for Credit, the Maritimes trip, July 17th to the 24th, 2026, contingent that it aligns with all travel advisories at the time of the trip. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Peters, and welcome.
Thank you, Chair, Trustees. You may be wondering why it's me presenting a trip, and that's because this opportunity is for all Blue Water students, so it's not tied to a particular school. The trip I'm presenting is a travel for credit opportunity for Blue Water students to earn a grade 10 Civics and Career Studies credit during the summer of 2026. You may recall that we successfully piloted the travel for credit opportunity in 2024 for 75 students. The inaugural program combined online learning with an immersive experience, achieving great success and positive feedback across the district. The 2025 Civics and Careers Travel for Credit was canceled due to itinerary issues with cross-border travel to New York City. So that was last year. This summer, we're proposing a travel for credit program for up to 45 grade 9 and 10 students traveling to the Maritimes. The program will prioritize experiential learning, fostering real-world connections to course content while supporting student engagement and achievement. Students will explore political institutions and career pathways and visit sites such as the Halifax Citadel, the Canadian Museum of Immigration, the House of Green Gables, and Peggy's Cove, only to name a few. The academic portion of the course, like in previous years, is offered through asynchronous learning, online learning, followed by the 7-day travel component, which includes a reflective journal as part of the assessment. This is a wonderful opportunity for Blue Water students. The cost of the trip is $3,578 per student, which is a good value considering the experience. As the trip is not attached to a particular school, group fundraising isn't an option. However, schools may help students navigate personal fundraising as required. As in the past, the teaching positions attached to this program will be hired through normal human resources processes in the spring. That is my report.
Thank you. Questions, comments concerning this awesome trip? Trustee Morgan, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I still have a huge problem with this particular event. I'd love to know what the percentage of students who can go to this trip is across the board, who can afford this trip. And I do not agree with buying the credit, which is what it is. And that's all I have to say about it. I still have a huge problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to respond at all? Go ahead.
I appreciate your comments, and I do understand that it is very difficult when we present opportunities for students that some students can't afford. And fundraising is difficult for some students, and it's not something that other students need to worry about. However, I think we need to look at the positive aspects of the trip, in that some families perhaps have the resources to send students on trips, but don't have the time and ability away from work to offer the opportunity and appreciate the opportunity for students to participate independently in the program. As far as buying a credit, I think it's really important that we remember the integrity of the credit and that students are achieving the expectations of the credit, even though there is a cost associated with the travel. The course itself, the credit is earned as any credit is earned. And we also need to look at ensuring that we have opportunities for Blue Water students that align with our coterminous board and our surrounding boards who all offer, our surrounding boards do offer travel for credit opportunities for students. And I think we need to be ensuring that our students don't lose out. But I do appreciate your comment, Brent.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments concerning? Go ahead, Trustee Peters.
I'm just curious, how long is the trip again? 7 days,
Yes.
$3,500.
Yeah.
Any further comments, questions? So that trip covers all their transportation, their food, their lodging.
That's correct. It's a flight from Toronto into the Maritimes, the transportation around the Maritimes, accommodation and all meals. And entrance into the many sites. I've listed a few. The itinerary is in the package.
Okay. Oh, okay. Trustee Pharma.
I know several students who went on the trip 2 years ago, and they definitely were saying how amazing the opportunity was. They said they felt like they got their money's worth. They went to New York, I think, that was that trip. So just from a student perspective, a lot of the students who take them on the trip really appreciated it, and a lot of the parents as well. So it was very valued within school, and a lot of people learned a lot of things.
Thank you. And Trustee Craig.
Has this board ever considered subsidizing such trips for lower income students?
Through the chair, we wouldn't have the opportunity through budget to subsidize students to go on a trip. However, when a trip is more, not this one in the case because it's Blue Water wide, but sometimes with school level trips, there is group fundraising that subsidizes sometimes the entire group, or there are opportunities, for instance, with the trip that was approved earlier this year for Walkerton, there is an opportunity for a scholarship for a student to apply to have their trip paid for.
I'm in agreement with Trustee Morgan that this kind of event, largely restricted to middle and upper middle class families, is highly questionable. I'm going to vote against this on principle, knowing that of course it's going to go forward anyway. But I really think that we should be looking at a budget to subsidize these kinds of events not just this one, but others that we have coming to us almost every board meeting. We should find a way to make sure that the students who need them most, which is those from lower income families, where very often these kids have not traveled beyond their own borders. I know this well personally, because as a high school student in Niagara Falls, Ontario, I went nowhere because I was desperately poor. But middle class and upper middle class kids were able to go and enjoy and benefit from that kind of experience. And I think it's really quite sad that this board is basically setting something up that's just for those privileged kids.
Trustee Jane, trustee Thompson.
I just would like to comment, I don't think that's who attends these, the trips. My experience, it's a range of students that take, offer the opportunity to travel on the trips. Not all from families with lots of money, and the experience is excellent for everyone. I would be sad to see us not offer opportunities. Not everyone can take advantage of it. Not everyone can take advantage of everything. But for those that go, it's a huge experience.
Okay, trustee Peters.
The academic rigor of it, is there, can you kind of elaborate a little bit more in terms of how that looks?
Well, the teacher would teach the expectations of the civics and careers course as required through that for any course that, anytime we teach civics and careers. So it's really up to the teacher to make sure the students have met each of the expectations and to evaluate them appropriately. We have not hired the teachers yet, so I can't speak to specifics.
Any further comments or questions? I have a comment. So I do know that in different areas of the board that there's local service clubs. And it's not anything different when kids are doing exchanges overseas that they, you know, I forget, but they often are required to do some own fundraising, you know. And part of that is to include the community in their, you know, their potential event or what they're going to participate in. But I think that where, you know, when you were talking about, you know, because it's board wide, but they could approach their local school principal and they might have connections in the community, like say through Rotary or whatever. And to seek out maybe support in that way. They might not be able to get the full cost, but part of the cost. And it's an opportunity and not all students participate in that because they might be doing other things that summer that they would rather do than go on this trip. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of barriers for different programs of our board. And some of them is that, well, I can't participate in that because I have a job. Right, in the summer, you know, doing playground. So that would be a barrier and they might be able to afford it and they might not. So I think that, but there could be some local service clubs that would be helpful. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, and just add to that, I know flying within Canada is ridiculously expensive, and I kind of remember the price tag that was associated with the grade 7-8 European trip, and that was pretty well almost the same price. And I know flying in Canada is really exorbitant, but I also know that just the teacher part of me, that like I don't want to deny an opportunity, a great opportunity for the kids. My hang up is just the cost more than anything else. Like I know academically it's going to be great. The experience is going to be awesome for the kids. It's just an awful lot of money. And to everybody's point about the equity issue, and I can see the service club being a good opportunity. Maybe that might be the type of thing where we need to give the Rotary or the Optimist Club a heads up and say, hey, we're planning on this trip. Is there any way that you guys can proceed if ever somebody in your community approaches you? Do you have money to help?
And service clubs have been generous.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comforting.
Okay, trustee Craig, you'll have the last question.
These comments about ways that money could be raised to subsidize this are all quite valid. But it's significant to me that the board is not doing this. Basically, the board is saying you can go to your local Rotary Club or what have you. I really think that we should be finding a process that would facilitate the raising of money so that students of low income can participate in these extremely worthwhile exchanges. I think basically all that I've heard is a rationalization of the system as it exists, and I request a recorded vote on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, if I could just respond to Trustee Craig. I think there's no one in the room who would disagree with you on principle. I think we know that Blue Water is a board that lives within the ministry budgets. And there really would be no way for the board to set aside funds, again, for a select group of students, even if we wanted every student to have this opportunity. To have at a particular grade level, there's 1,300 students per grade. So even if we did find a way to subsidize it, there's no way to operationalize a class trip of this nature for every student across the board. So I do appreciate the sentiment. I just don't think there's, aside from the fact that there is no funding that comes from this year, I don't know how we operationalize this would be for the experience that every child would have, similar to the outdoor education center. That's something where, we establish that in a way that every kid gets to experience that. It's something of this nature. It is a difficult decision. I totally understand and respect what trustees have said. Unfortunately, it is not something that every child can access, similar to, students who play or children play hockey outside.
Yep.
As many people here who have kids in hockey know that's not every kid can access that either. So, thank you.
Okay, that's the last comment. I'm gonna put the motion on the floor. And it's going to be a recorded vote. That the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Blue Water Summer School students participate in the civics and careers travel for credit, the Maritimes trip, July 17th to the 24th, 2026. Contingent that it aligns with all travel advisories at the time of the trip, and it was moved by trustees Peters. So for those in favor, please raise your hand so it can be recorded. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Yes, but trustee McComb's actually not a part of this committee.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's got her thank you. And opposed? Keep your hand up. And 2 opposed. Thank you, and that has carried. So thank you very much. Oh, you're not, okay.
Well,
Okay, you're not voting, okay, so that creates another complication.
no, but can I just
Just a
ask-
minute. I'm going to, can you repeat that, Crystal, please?
Trustee Craig is not similar to trustee McComb is not a voting member of the committee. So while you participate in discussion, you wouldn't have a vote.
And the
The members that had signed up for the committee. So that's trustee Atkinson, trustee Johnstone, trustee Lutz, who is not here, so not present voting, trustee Morgan, trustee Peters, and trustee Tom.
Okay.
I have a question about that.
Well, okay, so you may have a question, but the fact is you didn't sign up to be a voting member on this committee, so this vote, you asked for it to be recorded. Is that a problem when the person who's not a voting member asks for a recording? I believe that
Yeah, it wouldn't.
it wouldn't. So we did have a regular vote and the yeas have it. Thank you very much. And maybe trustee Craig, we can have a conversation after this concerning your status
Well,
on this committee,
I'd
okay?
like to raise an issue of personal
Privilege,
privilege, I guess is what I'm thinking of.
state your privilege, please.
Okay,
And can you take your finger off so I can talk at the same time?
No,
Yeah, so state your privilege. Thank you.
That has to be on, okay. Okay, I am not a member of the governance standing committee. Is that what we're talking about?
That's correct.
And this is the committee that meets once a month. And does that mean in effect that to be a trustee in good standing, I don't even have to be here at all? I only have to be at the one board meeting. I find that highly undesirable, and this is the first I knew of that. I've always just come here as a good, responsible trustee who's not very good at the rules and regs. I can understand why I might, for example, not be able to vote on something being dealt with by some other committee. But this strikes me as a committee that is more central to the work of the board. And I'm very surprised that we're not all automatically members of this committee.
Okay, and so this goes back to when we made this a standing committee as opposed to a committee of the whole board. And people were asked who wanted to be on various committees. And you did not put your name forward, like other people, to be on this committee. That's what, and you are welcome to attend, but you don't get a voting privilege. And the reason being is that way we always remain within the provincial, you could say, law. Because remember, the whole thing is that this is a committee. If we left this committee as a committee of the whole board and you decided not to attend, it could be that your seat would be declared open. So we changed the whole structure of different committees. I'm just letting you know from state that went from committee of the whole, which is all trustees, to standing committees, which are, you know, like special interest committees. And this would be one of them. That you can come and have a conversation, but you don't get voting rights. But the same, this motion or this recommendation, because it's a recommendation at this point. Once voted on, it will go before the board the third Tuesday of the month, and you can have another kick at the can, so to speak. You could, you know, like the whole conversation we've just had here, you could bring up all your points, and I hope you do. So I'm not gonna belabor because we're actually, we're not talking to anything, and I need to move the agenda forward. I can't argue with you. I mean, there's nothing here.
That's fine. I'm out of here.
Okay.
I just want to comment as I walk out the door that I've really found in the last 3 years a great deal of the work of this board to be very largely irrelevant to quality of education in Blue Water School. And this
Thank you
just
very much.
reinforces it.
We're gonna continue on our agenda now. Okay.
Good night, folks.
Okay. Liz. Okay. The next one is I would like to invite Superintendent of Education LaFave to speak to the report recommendation I'm going to put on the floor. That the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Georgian Bay Community School students participate in the Pursuits Program Field Trip Algonquin Winter Exhibition, February 24th to the 27th, 2026. And can I have a mover for that, please? Trustee Morgan, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Chair, trustees, and everyone. This is the Pursuits annual Algonquin Winter Expedition. And this one's pretty straightforward. It's got a detailed outline plan in there. They leave on a Tuesday, they're back on a Friday. They're up to Algonquin. They're doing some winter camping there. There's a lot of preparation that goes in ahead of time by the teacher, Ian Carr, to have the students ready for this. They're planning their their meals. This is the one where they have the outdoor tents and they're sleeping, obviously, sleeping outdoors. It's only $112.17 per student as part of the Pursuits package. So I think everything is in there that you need for this trip. And having been up here and explained this every year for the last 4 or 5 years, I think you know this trip fairly well. There are a few new people around the table, so I'm happy to entertain any questions I have.
Thank you. Is there any questions, comments concerning the trip before you? Thank you, trustee Morgan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to say that my grandson went on this trip and he thought it was absolutely fabulous and he didn't freeze to death.
I don't think we need to put that in the minutes, but thank you.
Any other further comments concerning the trip before you? I don't see any. Thank you very much. So that the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Georgian Bay Community School students participate in the Pursuit Program field trip for Algonquin Winter Exhibition, February 24th, 27th, 2026. It was moved by trustee Morgan. All in favor? And that is carried. And thank you. Return. Okay. I'm inviting the Director of Education, Keene, to speak to the report that we're going to bring forward with a recommendation that the Blue Water District School Board consider approving the revised board report template annual reporting schedule as presented. Can I have a mover for that to put it on the floor? Thank you, trustee Atkinson, and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, trustees. The report that you have in front of you is a recommendation to revamp our current reporting framework, both in terms of how reports are presented to trustees, as well as a more formal schedule of when reports come to board. This is a result of a review of a number of school boards across Ontario and comes following some observations of past meetings, as well as conversations with senior team and some trustees. Reports will be framed under the headings that you see in this report, as well as in Appendix A. These headings should provide clear and organized information and will be structured in a manner that makes it easy for trustees and senior team to identify information and to ask questions. The reporting framework itself is based on recommended or required reports. We had a review of historically what reports have come before. It really is aimed to ensure the trustees have sufficient information to make decisions in an effort to support the goals of the multi-year strategic plan. While the reports listed are intended to provide the said required information, there will still be a means for trustees to request reports that are outside of the framework. It is our intention to ensure reports include sufficient data in the background section, and that each report provides next steps that we will be taking to achieve our outcomes and goals. The framework is intended to come into full effect in September 2026. However, we will strive to follow the schedule as best as possible as early as January. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions here for Director Keene concerning the report that was just given? Trustee Thompson, go ahead.
Thank you for this. There is often quite a cycle of the reports that we hear for every year, and when I look, I think it covers the topics that we certainly look for and give some structure if you're thinking about a particular topic as a trustee where it might fit. Do you anticipate that the structure of the actual presentation will be different? Or will they be similar to what we've been receiving now?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. I don't believe the reports themselves will be presented any differently. What I would like to, although so far in my time here, we haven't really run into lengthy meetings, but generally a presentation would have a 10-minute time limit for the presentation of the report, followed by however much time trustees need to ask questions. And so that would be sort of the guidelines. But again, the format would be you get the report in front of you, senior team or whoever is presenting would provide, if applicable, a PowerPoint or slide deck to follow the presentation. So it will seem very, very similar. What I do want to make sure is that we start every report where possible with data. So that we're looking at, whether that be, real numbers in terms of attendance or achievements or number of, you're gonna find assume number of participants in our leadership program. So we really want to ground it in real concrete information. And then, of course, always have those next steps. So it'll feel the same, but those two pieces should ground the presentation.
Go ahead, trustee Thompson.
If trustee were thinking this is a topic that I'm interested in, but when they receive the material, the specific question or area that they're most interested in doesn't seem to be in the descriptor that we see. Is it, how should that be handled? Should they forward that question to you or in advance of the meeting so that the superintendent can have an opportunity to prepare that, or questions acceptable at the time?
I think that's a great question, and thank you for it. Through you, Madam Chair, I think both are sort of on the table. I think that advanced knowledge, like when you get the reports the week before, if you see something in the report that's missing, please either through you or directly to me, bring that to my attention, and we'll ensure that it's answering the questions. The other thing I'd like to have the conversation about, which has come up in the last couple of days, is a more formal trustee inquiry process. So if there's something trustees wish to know, it doesn't necessarily need to come to board in a report. Do we have a process for that? Because I think some of the questions that you may have at times can be answered through an email to me and pushed out to senior team, but those are other pieces we're looking at. I certainly don't want to imply, and we would never not give you the information that you need. So whether that comes the night of the report or in a trustee inquiry later, or even a different report, this didn't hit the mark, we will certainly entertain providing that information in a number of ways.
And just a minute. Just gonna make sure, is this subsequent to the same question? Go ahead.
I just, again, for trustees, when we've discussed this as before it's come to us, it's just the acknowledgement that our questions result in work by a senior team member. And so we need to be respectful of others and their workload. So hopefully this allows us to know what's coming, where our questions might best fit. And if it's something that's not there, a message to the director that can send that information out or the question appropriately. And if it's a real isolated thing, be handled perhaps differently than something that benefits all trustees. So
Thank you for that comment. We greatly appreciate it. And I will say that part of the motivation behind this framework is so that senior team has a sense of what's coming when in terms of those, because some of these reports are pretty big to really put together. So thank you very much for that comment.
Let's welcome to listen to the question. That was. Are there any further questions or comments? I don't see any, but I also really like the new framework. It works, and I really like the fact that there's a cost implication, because there's always a cost implication, but that oftentimes I don't think that. I mean, in the past, Trustee Johnstone wouldn't have recognized, but Trustee Johnstone now does. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And I do want to extend thanks to Bristol and senior team and trustees who reviewed the various report structures and frameworks and templates, and that really helped us land somewhere that's okay for the impacts of Corona.
Thank you. Okay, that the Blue Water District School Board consider approving the revised board report template and annual reporting schedule as presented. It was moved by Trustee Atkinson. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. And next, I would like the Superintendent of Education to speak to the report. It's the new administrator mentoring. It's called AM.
Thank you, Chair, trustees, audience. So NAM, as part of our robust onboarding procedures and services within Blue Water, NAM is what helps our new administrators get acclimatized to the role as a vice principal and principal within Blue Water. This is a wonderful program. It came in after I started in the role, but that was about 18 years ago now. Sorry. 20 years ago now. Oh, a little long in the tooth. But the NAM process has been around for a little while, and I inherited that from Superintendent Lowers, who did a wonderful job with that. And Learning Service Administrator Morrow, who's going to be speaking to you right in just a second, will explain to you what the process looks like, what we're able to offer in terms of mentoring and professional development. And then we also have a NAM participant who is just in his first year as a principal in Blue Water, but came to us as an administrator from another province. So he's very well, he knows and understands leadership, both within another province and within Ontario, and he can explain what he has experienced since coming to Blue Water. I'm sure it was a good story.
Thank you. This is a very special part of my portfolio. I really appreciate having the opportunity to support our new administrators. It is a fantastic, wonderful job, but it is a busy job, and to help new administrators make that switch and transition is wonderful. So we do follow the Ontario Leadership Framework, which focuses on building the capacities of leaders. Effective leadership is critical in ensuring the development of safe and supportive learning communities that prioritize quality instruction while managing accountable stewardship of resources and fostering our community engagement. The essence of the new administrator training and support program is to improve leadership potential, provide an overview of key practices of successful education leaders, and assist in the development of professional networks. So we have year one principal or vice principals. We have currently 5 in our NAM. We have year 2 VPs, and we have 12 that we are supporting. We have year 1 principals. We have 5, and we have year 2 principals, and we have 7 folks. The new administrator orientation program provides targeted and introductory overview for administrators who are joining our Blue Water team. So when a new administrator is hired from within or outside the district, they're invited to attend an introductory meeting. And this is to support them to really start those first few weeks with great success. So it's what do they need to know for the first few weeks of their role to move in. As they move into their role, and then they join the regular new administrator meetings. And I'm going to ask Josh Miller, he is first year principal from GCQ.
Thank you, trustees. My name is Josh Miller. I am the proud principal of GC Houston Public School in Southampton, and I spent the last 2 years as the vice principal at Northport School in Port Elgin. Prior to that, and I think the reason why I might have been asked to come and speak about NAM is I have been a new administrator attending new administrator meetings for, this is my 12th year. And that is circumstantial, but I think you can see by the gray in my hair that I've been an administrator for a long time, but I felt very supported at my new administrator meetings. The reason why I've been in new administrator meetings for so long is because I spent the majority of my career in the province of Alberta with the Calgary Board of Education. And during that time, working my way through my career, I spent time as a learning leader, department head, assistant principal, as we call it out west, and then finally a principal there. And at all of those stages, you take part in new administrator meetings. So it has been a long journey as a good administrator. I'm in year 3 of 4 of the Blue Water District School Board. But to be honest with you, I would not trade that time or that experience for anything. When you move from a province or when you move from board to board, you would think that things are pretty similar. I can speak from experience, they are not. They really, really are not. And so I spent my first couple of years at the dinner table each night with my wife, who's also an educator within Blue Water District School Board, learning acronyms for things in Ontario. I still, to be honest with you, I refer to IEPs as ITPs. I refer to the IPRC process as the ALT process, and the list goes on and on. That being said, being a new administrator and learning new things is not possible if you sit in a silo on your own within your school community. It is extremely important to get together with experts and senior team to know what your role is, when your role is at, and what is the policy and procedures that you need to stand in front of, and they're going to back you strongly. New administrator meetings are an opportunity for us to come sit back in a quiet environment without the hustle and bustle of our hallways, to talk about procedures, to talk about administrative regulations, and to figure out how that fits in our day-to-day. That is not possible through a Teams meeting. It's not possible through a memo. The way that is possible is sitting around the table with others who are experiencing it, being a new administrator minute to minute. Speaking with the experts who come into the room, oftentimes we'll ask senior principals to come and present on certain portfolios. We'll also ask former principals who have retired from the Blue Water District School Board to come and speak to us about topics as well. During that time, we learn from others. We also laugh at mistakes because we all make them. And I would much rather learn from a member of the senior team the mistakes that they make than experience those mistakes themselves. And so when we reflect on those things, we talk about it around the table. We get guidance at a slower pace than what we usually experience at a system administrative meeting. But we also have an opportunity to role play with others as well, which is something that would never happen if you're sitting in a room like this in a supported environment. The second fold that I find very positive is the mentorship, where we are greeted by a person who has experience within our board. It is a phone a friend, it is a landline. It is oftentimes even an ambulance for you to get you out of the heat very quickly. It is always someone that you can call. And yes, we do have those formal mentorships that are designed for us with principals, but I think it's also very important that we have people like Sarah that we can call at any time. Calling our superintendent is a little bit of a different experience than just calling our NAM representative and bouncing ideas off of them. There's a little bit less of a formality to that and more of a comfort as well. Not that Keith, my superintendent, is not absolutely fantastic, but that being said, it is nice to have a phone call so that you are touching base with somebody that you know is going to support you, laugh at your mistakes, and then help you take out of that water. One of the things that I found most beneficial about NAM is the relationships that we build. So whether it's with the Calgary Board of Education or whether it's with Blue Water District School Board, at almost every new administrator meeting, you are reminded that the people that you are sitting around that room with are going to be your colleagues and your phone friends for life. I continue to call colleagues back in Calgary to ask for advice because those are the people that I came up with. Those are the people that I learned from. Those are the people that I trust with my career and trust with my decision making. After 3 years being on this board, I feel very supported by our senior team, but also those who I sit around the table with at new administrator meetings. Those are friendships that will last through my entire career. That's also guidance that I know that I can go to. One thing that I feel I could do better when it comes to new administrator meetings is utilizing the time to be released to go to other schools. As new administrators, we're often afraid to leave our buildings, to let our teachers down, to let our students down, to let our communities down. And we often neglect to use that this fund, right? It is extremely important to get out into different schools. It's extremely important to learn from our colleagues, and it's extremely important to know what goes on in other buildings. Because what we think is going well can always feel better. And what we think is going poorly, we can always look at someone else to know that's doing well poorly in their building as well. It gives you comfort too. Being a new administrator within Blue Water, I felt extremely supported from onboarding and having a one-on-one meeting with almost every senior team member came into the room to greet me that day. In a large board, that is not possible. You're often sitting in a room with 20, 30 new administrators and your shields and you're listening to PowerPoint presentations. When I came to Blue Water, I felt supported from the moment that I entered this building, knowing that people were going to come and sit with me one-on-one to make sure that I understood things. So that the first time that I walk in my building, my entry plan is appropriate and my entry plan is consistent with Blue Water expectations. I thank this board for supporting me. I'm thankful for the opportunity to come back into Ontario, and I feel successful each day that I enter my office because of the supports that I've been given through Blue Water. And so I know that NAM is expensive. I know that it's difficult to fund. What I would ask is that we continue programs like this because it only makes schools stronger, it makes administrators stronger, and in the end, it makes Blue Water District School Board stronger. So thank you through the chair for having this opportunity to reflect on NAM and present to you this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just want to say, just to start here is that it's great to see a program like this. This actually kind of makes me as a trustee feel that the kinds of programs that we support have real impact, and the impact here might be on the senior, like on administrators, but we create a lot of strength there. I'm going to say that, and that in turn is because the leaders of the school then help our students thrive in their areas. So thank you, and you did wonderful. Are there any questions or comments? Go ahead.
So I just want to add just a couple of things that Josh said that we think, especially when he said he's nervous about calling me. No, so just in terms of funding for this, so this fits within our leadership envelope, and we're well within that, as Superintendent Lowe explained just a little while ago, talking about our budget. We're well within that line in terms of leadership. So the $20,000 that you see there, that is the budget that we have for mileage and some release and things like that help us bring the NAM participants together, as well as it provides the NAM mentors some funds to be able to provide release so that they can do some visiting one another. So Josh could get a release code to be able to be gone for an afternoon, maybe to go and visit his mentor school and participate in some training there. So I also just want to mention, I've taught the PQP modules 1 and 2 for the principals, new administrators across the province. It's now online, so I've done it a number of times for a number of years. And all the administrators there, that's one of the things that they say is they really want to know that they're going to be received with a lot of support, and that they're going to feel as though they're part of a tight-knit family within their school boards. And the ones who have gone into admin, when I explain to them what we do here at Blue Water, they are amazed. And in the last few years, we have hired a number of external administrators. I think that's been pointed out by a number of trustees. They said we have more external people coming in, and there's some tremendous candidates and tremendous people like Josh who have joined us. We're also seeing them recommend to their colleagues to come here as well. So when we get one external person from them in the Southern Board, we tend to get a few more because they're telling their colleagues how amazing it is in Blue Water. And that's what they're saying to Superintendent McEwen on the phone, or that's what they're saying to us when we ask them why Blue Water, because we've heard wonderful things about you. And that's something that Director Keene also said, that he had heard wonderful things about Blue Water, and that's because people talk about how supportive we are within the board. So makes me really proud to be a Blue Water senior administrator. And yeah, thank you very much.
Are there any questions, comments? Okay, go ahead, Trustee Thompson.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I hate to go backwards, but when we had the pandemic, I suspect there was a disruption in normalcy of providing this kind of support and onboarding for the administrators that would have perhaps been caught in that, or perhaps any of our administrators who had to deal with the everyday a little bit different and just survival. Have we made an effort to reach back to those people and provide this opportunity for them as we've come out of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yes, so the board did try, the program department did try to continue online, but we know that that isn't as in-depth and supportive. So there was offer after to any new administrator or administrators during that time that they could still connect if they were needing additional support.
And I would just say, about 3 years ago, we really took a different direction in terms of how we operated our principal meetings and principal operations meetings during the school year, because we realized we had a number of administrators who, going through the pandemic, not going to say that we can call them COVID principals, but some people were new to being a principal during COVID. And honestly, 90% of their job was operational. So it did move away from that learning focus and academic focus, and a lot of it was operations, handing out devices, coming up with charts for returning devices, things like that. So we then, we were very purposeful in terms of making an operations meeting during the month, and then separating and having a learning focus, academic focus for the whole principal meeting every month. And we did that because we knew we had principals who had missed out on some of that through the NAM and through other processes. So I think we've caught a lot of those people up in terms of the work that needs to happen around the academics.
Isabel, thank you very much for that, because our principals have such an important job to reach all of our students. So the more support that can be provided for them academically and with the workload of the operational piece of it, the better. So thank you so much.
Any further questions or comments? I don't see any. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming out.
Thanks for joining.
Okay, we're moving on to our committee reports, and I'd like to invite Special Education Advisory Committee Chair Atkins Vin to speak to the report that's being reviewed.
We had a very exciting meeting, and I wish my colleague to the left of me would have been here for my report, but you can tell him all the good things, okay? So we met on Monday, November the 24th, and we were at Walkerton District Community School. And it's one of the highlights of CIAC meeting is being in the school. And we haven't been in a school since prior to COVID, so it was very exciting. Get the right arrow here. So as I said, we were at Walkerton District. Colleen McGuire, the Learning Service Administrator, gave a report from their department. And out of her report, the principal there, Mark Osorio, commented on an announcement he got to make in the morning on behalf of the girls basketball team. And they had won the, again, acronyms. I'm still learning too. So OFSAA, so whatever that might be. Yeah, they had went on the weekend to a basketball tournament, and is hope I'm not taking your thunder. They participated, and long story short, they went in at team, there was 8 teams, they were 7th going in, and they won number 1. And for those who remember, we had the Walkerton tragedy. Of course, how could we forget? Olivia Rourke played on that team, and her father, Dan, was the coach. And so they took number 10, which was Olivia's number, and she was with them in spirit, and they brought home the win. So they made history. WD never has won this. I don't think anyone in Blue Water has won this award. So we were very happy to hear that from the principal. That it was positive, good news. And so I also gave an update on what was going on here at the board. I won't go into much, we know here. But I also shared Jack's report because Edie was unable to attend, so we gave them a little taste of the student voice. Committee members gave their updates of their agencies, and something that you may need to know is your Safe Talk certification is now going to have to be done every 3 years. And along with your assist programming, so it'll be like your food handlers and your smart serve, it'll have to be revalidated every 3 years. For more information, contact Jackie Ralph. She's got all the details. So then goes to the fun part of the meeting. We got a tour of WD and we started off in the kindergarten area and proceeded to the elementary spec ed classroom. And of course, that is my highlight. I am in heaven when I hit that classroom. So we walked in and there were some students working on some projects, and there was one little fella, he was working on his iPad and he was making sentences. So he had 2 words to pick from, and it would go red if it was correct, or sorry, wrong, and green if it was correct. So he was showing me, and he was very, very adamant that I paid attention, because you can get it wrong if you don't pay attention, is what he told me. So that was nice. Then I went on to the next table, and there was 4 students at that table, and they were doing matching puzzles. And there was a young fellow, he wasn't participating, but the one little gal, she said to me that he doesn't like to do it with the puzzle pieces. He likes to do it on the iPad, and yes, has used his iPad time. But then she proceeded to tell me that that was her brother. It wasn't her husband, because they have the same last name, and it was priceless. But anyway, you had to actually be there to see the humor. She was so serious to tell me that. And then, of course, I was the last one to leave. We then went down to the secondary spec ed classroom, and they were doing some numeracy or literacy. They do that in the morning where they have their full attention. So we didn't disturb that class, but we went to the classroom next door, and it was daily activities of life that they did in there. They cooking, all different things, and it was really nice to see. But what I was mostly impressed with was the spec ed classroom, secondary, looks after their breakfast program. So they all have a job, and they all have little little pieces of paper or whatever they use, whiteboards. And so if you had, say, room 117 had 20 students, they had 6 apples and 4 oranges, and then there was an R for the remainder. So that gave the student preparing that bucket some numeracy and literacy, and they had to figure out how many items they needed to make the 20. So it was very, it was, for me, it was a really neat thing to see. But what I was also impressed, and this is what I was hoping Michael would have been able to hear, is as we were walking, we've seen students in little corners with their EAs and their fidget baskets. And they made room wherever they could be, whether it was at the end of a library, and then there was a spare room that they used for a student, and it was just for that student because personalities conflict. But when Braden was telling us, the staff there are prepared and know that what is good now may not be good next year, and they pivot very easily with no problems. They have 23 EAs there at Walkerton. A lot of emergency supply work is in all schools, but he has to figure out the schedule and makes it work. And they're taking a room off of the library and making a sensory room. And I thought it was the greatest idea. For those that don't know, sensory rooms are very, very expensive, but they're pulling their resources and they're taking what might be from 10 years ago and bringing it back, or something that a school doesn't need, they're bringing it in, and they don't expect it to be done by June. In the next 3 years is their hope that their sensory room is complete. And so it was very neat. I finally met someone as passionate about special education as I am. So I really had a great discussion with Braden, and it was a really nice tour. But when he was saying, you see little bodies in corners, and they were working along with their EAs, and he said that's what they make, how they make it work. We don't have rooms for A, B, and C to be by themselves. They just pick a corner and it's just supported that way. It was just a wonderful tour. We're hoping to maybe have another one within the school year, but definitely next year as well, because it truly gives you a sense of what special education is and what we do for special education and how the EAs, the teachers and the students become one. And it was a very nice tour. And that's my report. And any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Any questions or comments concerning, the Special Education Advisory Committee report? I don't see any. Thank you, Tracy. Oh, wait a minute. Go ahead, Trustee Morgan.
I'm thrilled to hear Trustee Atkinson talk about her kiddos again. Thank you.
Thank you. We're next going to the Policy Standing Committee. The Lutz absent, Trustee Thompson is going to actually give the report. There's 11 policies, and then that's going to be, she might do a brief overview of those, and then there is actually two to be reviewed, to come back for consideration.
Thank you. That's my report. It was a very busy meeting. We did have, as you can see from the report, with 8 policies that are being sent to the system for review as part of the cyclical process. So they will come back to policy after that process is done. And there are 2 coming recommendations. So I'm going to ask Chair Johnstone to bring those recommendations forward.
Okay. So the first one, and this is kind of where we're going to do something here, that the Blue Water District School Board consider.
And I'm going to say point of order.
Yeah.
Okay, we're really smooth. I just wanted to, as you see, the first recommendation that's there, but in light of the updates to the board reporting framework that was presented this evening, it would be a good idea for staff and the policy standing committee to take another opportunity to review and if necessary, update the bylaws before we finalize them. So in light of that, I would like to request that the board procedure bylaws be referred to the policy standing committee.
Put that on the floor, that Blue Water District School Board procedural bylaws, which is what we were going to move tonight, be referred back to the policy standing committee for further consideration. So can I have a mover for that? Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Is there any conversation, debate concerning us going back and referring it back to policy? I see none. All in favor? Great, and that has carried. Then the next one is that the Blue Water District School Board consider approving board policy BP 1107-D, Director of Education Performance Appraisal as revised for system use. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Morgan. Any debate or comment concerning the recommendation before you? Okay, I see none. All in favor? And that has also carried, and that is the completion of the policy standing committee. Okay, next, I'd like to invite Chair Thompson to speak to the report of the Education Advisory Committee of October 30th, 2025.
Thank you. The Indigenous Education Advisory Committee meets twice as a whole committee. Once in the fall, once in the spring, and then the winter meeting is the individual, our board and our co-governance board meeting individually. We met at Nowikwidon Indigenous Friendship Center in Onzant. It was a full house, full room. We were pleased to introduce our new director to the group. And I'm not sure if everyone here is aware, but Rebecca Shigana has taken on Indigenous advisor role for our board. So we were able to introduce her. At each of these meetings, the principals of three of our schools present how best practices, what's happening to meet the needs of our students, where some of the challenges are, what's working, and what they could need from the committee in terms of meeting the needs of our students better. So you will see the landing success, increase in our graduation rates, and the work that was done with the National Truth and Reconciliation Day. I'd be pleased to take any questions if you have them.
Any questions or comments concerning the report? I see none. Thank you. Thank you very much for your report. Okay, is there any new notices of motion coming forward this evening? Is there any new notices of motion coming before you this evening? Seeing none, there's no new business because it wasn't added at the beginning of the meeting. Are there any announcements? Any announcements? Trustee Atkinson, any announcements? Not tonight. Well, I just know that there's lots of kind of holiday kind of dinners coming up. I'm noticing on my calendar anyhow that my different schools, they let me know, it's giving me times and stuff like that. Even just to let you know, it'll be different kind of people I have holiday sweater. Anyway, I've actually gone through all these years without one. There you go. You had my oldest daughter, we thought that I should get one. Okay, and so then we're at adjournment at the Blue Water District School Board. Governance Standing Committee adjourned at 8:08 p.m. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Trustee Atkinson. And you are adjourned in safe home. Thank you very much.